Was your talk just now, Laura?
It was yesterday, but
Oh, love
I've
that.
My
heard.
talk was just now, and I mentioned it to be fair. So there's like it is relevant. So
I mentioned it in my
it's
talk this morning as well, so I think
Okay,
everybody's
okay.
yeah, it's been brought up.
Uh,
We talked
I
about
think
it.
that's good. I mean,
my takeaway were Laura's courses. Love it.
nice. I mean, that's not intentional, but obviously that's beautiful, and thank you so much.
I'm not allowed to pitch myself, but I'll pitch you. I think that's allowed at the non-summit summit.
Yeah, yeah.
I'll pitch for you.
Well, thank you all for joining us in the Q&A today. Obviously we have a couple of questions in the Slack group in the VIP tent, but we'll take questions live as well. Oh, someone said puppy. Yes. Oh, he's growling at me now. Don't growl at me. Okay, I'll put you down. That's Bean, my grumpy sausage who has insisted on sitting on my lap today.
So cute.
Yes, he's my little baby. So yeah, we've had a couple of questions asked, but feel free to ask questions like live as we're going as well. You can either direct them at all of us or like one of us individually. But yeah, I don't think we need to introduce ourselves. I think you all know like who we are, but do you guys want to just say like hello and just
Hello.
Hi. I feel like I just said hello to you all, and you'll all from a few minutes ago.
So I think I'm just trying to like make sure. Oh, there's somebody else in the chat as well. So we've had a couple of questions. So I think we should start off with that. And the first question is actually for Alice. So this is from Mayara. She says, as somebody who is getting started in content creating just as a creative outlet and without much strategy behind it, one thing I regret is not having a lead magnet and entry-level products from the get-go, aside from my one-to-one service. So for service providers building an online presence, how do you view the role of low ticket digital products in that journey? How would you approach mapping out an offer ladder from entry product to signature offer in a way that aligns with their journey? I'll copy and paste it and pop it in the chat as well. So like, why are you trying to climb on my shoulders, dog? There we go. I've just popped the question in the chat. This is from Mayara. So yeah, Alice, this one was directed at you. I suppose anybody chip in though if they feel.
Yeah, here for it. I mean, I'm sure super keen to hear from the other experts because I think this is one of those things that's less right and wrong and more just different approaches, pros and cons to each. My kind of general recommendation without, diving into someone's business individually is I actually don't agree that beginning with a diverse business model is always the best thing. I'm a big believer in like do one thing well, build solid foundations in one place and then diversify from there. So like even my own business as the example, I think I spent almost 3.5 years just delivering one-to-one before I launched a course, a program, I launched literally my first lead magnet today. And that's 9 years into running my own business online. I'm not saying that's a good thing. It's been well overdue, but I think actually starting with one-to-one or whatever your kind of core offer is really wise. And I would really encourage you to think about what you're looking to learn from that and how that can give you greater clarity. And then I think it's a case of going, right, what's the gap, right? Like, is it, and I think what's the gap can both be, what's the gap for me as the business? Is it that you're craving and excited about creating something that's more group vibes? Or is it that you're excited to create something in person? Or is it that you're excited to have something that's more scalable? But also what's the gap for your audience? Your one-to-one offer is going to facilitate a journey, but is there another journey they want your help with? Or do they want help with just part of that journey in a smaller way? Like, I think my general opinion is don't rush into diversification. It's always going to feel messy, so never expect to get to 100% readiness. But I think, yeah, really consider like if I'm going to let something into my business model, we want to have high standards for that. And one of the biggest mistakes I see people make is a one-way door on their business model where we have new things all the time and then we have about 15 different offers and none of them are necessarily there from a place of intention. So I think it's that real questioning of like, even with my clients, I had a client yesterday be like, I want to launch this new thing. And I'm pretty much just being like, okay, give me the sales pitch. Like I need to know all the reasons why this should exist for you, for your community, for the business. So yeah, don't expect to have a light bulb moment where it's like, this is the right place to go next. But I think consider what the gap is once your one-to-one offer feels established. And I mean, my business is maybe the example. You don't need lead magnets. You don't need anything, right? There's no blueprint. You get to decide based on your goals what elements you want to use. So that is probably quite an annoying non-answer, but hopefully some frameworks in that to think about.
I mean, even if I just think about like the amount of lead magnets I've had over the years that I've like launched and then sacked off, or like I've wanted to do something different, like even as you were speaking in your talk, Alice, about like testing things, like I think it's like, don't feel the pressure. And I feel like this has been a bit of my theme, like I've been talking about this so much throughout bootcamp, but don't feel the pressure to have everything perfect. Like don't feel like you need like this really like beautiful like set of offers and things from the get-go. Like it's about testing, understanding who your audience is, and like getting there gradually. Like I'm 6 years into my business and like I just changed all my offers. Like you're not going to have them perfect from the get-go.
I completely agree.
Anyone else have anything they want to like add on to that, or like?
Yeah, I can go.
Go for it.
Oh, goodness. Yeah, I think the concept of having a lead magnet from the get-go is unrealistic, unnecessary, and potentially something that you've seen online as delivery of the right way to do things. And I would encourage you to free yourself up from the restriction of having to follow the prescribed technique that we see online. So lead magnets obviously are great in certain situations. I, for example, have just created my very first lead magnet for my design business. For the last 6 years, I have not had a lead magnet for my design business. I have just done it without. Now I'm testing and seeing what it looks like. After I've been in business this long, I now have more insight and understanding of what to produce. And I think that if you don't have that insight, that data, that observation, as I was talking about yesterday, if you don't have that data and that insight, you're basically just pulling a lead magnet out of your ass and just thinking, okay, I need to produce one, I need to have one because that's what the internet said. Whereas actually, if you live and observe and in real time see what's out there in your business, then the lead magnet that you will produce eventually will be more intentional. Exactly what Alice said, basically. Observing what you actually need to do and what your people actually need. So I don't think it's a problem. I know you mentioned there wasn't much strategy and you regret it. I think you can let that regret go. I think you can drop the regret because it's actually okay. And you will know in time, there will become a point where you're thinking, okay, visibility is now a problem. Or visibility, I need to get more people at top of funnel. I need to start speaking to cold leads. Maybe I'm already selling to people that are in my audience. I need to start speaking to new people. That might be the trigger and the activator to say, okay, now what can I do to bring new people in? And it doesn't necessarily have to happen from the very, very beginning. Again, just to, reiterate what everybody else has said.
Yeah, I'll jump on that and say like what you said about the internet is so true. Like I'm 3 years into my business and I've never had a lead magnet, and I've just seen someone ask in the chat how you grow a mailing list. I've got a mailing list of like 2,000 people and I've never had a lead magnet just from posting it. Like honestly, like I don't have an offering that I give to someone because it's not necessary where I'm at in my business and my career and my journey at the moment. And if it doesn't feel right, you shouldn't force it because then you're going to get burnt out trying to do it and it's not going to be valuable in the same way as if you like took the time, like Laura said, and actually let it come almost organically in a way that makes sense for you and your audience.
I think as well, like the ways that I actually grew my mailing list because I've had lead magnets, but they've mostly been like for designers rather than like my actual like clients and things like that. And the way that I've grown my lead magnet is purely just by like creating an experience out of my newsletter as well. So it was called Studio Unfiltered. I've changed it a bit now. It's called the Brand Bulletin. But essentially, like I'm not just sending out any random emails. Like I'm showing up with a piece of content every single week that you only get if you're on my newsletter. And so just kind of talking about that and like creating an experience out of it as well. And just like sharing it every now and again, like on my Instagram stories, things like that. And it makes people want to sign up. Like I've got about 7,000 people on my newsletter. So, you don't need the lead magnets.
Yeah, you can grow it just from you. And I don't even have a newsletter yet. I was meant to launch one in January. Again, it's something that, like you said, you just let things go. I was like, oh, I'm going to launch this in January. It didn't feel right, so I didn't do it. I will eventually do it. But people signed up for me just saying, I'm doing a newsletter. Like it wasn't an offering. It was just, I'm just going to be chatting about design or whatever, you know. So I don't think there's a pressure there, or you need to give into any sort of pressure.
Holly, you're launching at the moment as well. Like you're building a wait list at the moment as well. Like I'm curious to know like how you've been going through that process too.
Yeah, I was just going to add to what you guys are saying, and I love that, you're kind of like taking the time to think about, not putting too much pressure on yourself, because I agree with that too, because if you're first starting out, there's so many things to think about and to do. But if I was to give any like tangible advice, if you didn't want to like start a lead magnet, at least on your website copy, then have a really great like a section on your homepage or whatever, or every page where it says inviting them to your newsletter. If you have a newsletter, if you decide to do a newsletter, someone asks, how do you grow a newsletter without a lead magnet? So giving them a chance to invite or inviting them, sorry, on your website is a great alternative. And like I said in my talk, with headlines, instead of saying something like, hey, join my newsletter, instead of saying something like that, you can say that in the subheadline for clarity, but use the headline to really speak to why they should join your newsletter. Like, okay, so you're going to get exclusive tips and tricks or behind the scenes, like why should they join your newsletter? So speak to that in the headline instead of just like, hey, join my newsletter. Or hey, like, or if it's a product-based business, for example, hey, join my newsletter, get 10% off or something. What's in it kind of for them if they do join your newsletter? So talking about that as a way to invite them to your newsletter if you don't want to do a lead magnet. If you want to do a lead magnet, though, what I would say is, a lot of people overcomplicate freebies, I find, and it doesn't have to be that deep. It can be very, very simple. So, for example, I'm launching an email marketing offer the end of this month, and my lead magnet was 50 subject lines. So I didn't need to do 50, like you can do 10, you can do 20, but I just went with 50 because, and actually it was 52 by the end in my welcome sequence, so that they could have a subject line for every week of the year. And so there's 52 weeks, and so that's why I did that. And so that was really super easy for me to come up with like subject line ideas and stuff. And so now, like, that's a first step into introducing them into email marketing, introducing my expertise and things like that. So that's what your lead magnet can be for, like as a first step, something that's easy for you to create and easy for them to consume. Give them a quick win for something related to your offer. So for example, if I gave them sales page formulas, but I'm launching an email marketing course at the end of this month, then that doesn't connect. So just making sure that it connects to your actual offer, even though sales page formulas might sound great. If I'm launching something entirely different, then yeah, it just won't connect as well. So yeah, I guess that would be my advice with freebies. Just make sure it connects to your offer, a first step, something really easy for you to do, but also valuable for them. You don't need to go create a 45-page ebook or like a long workshop or something. You can start really slow, and then you can always improve it as you go. But I would suggest to start as soon as you can to build your email list, because email lists are so valuable. But again, no pressure. If you're feeling stretched out, then you can always introduce that later. I went off on a massive tangent there. I think I answered your question, but yeah, those are the things that just popped up in my mind there, in terms of freebies and lead magnets and stuff.
Yeah, that's super helpful. I think it's so nice when we can all come together like this and like all share our little pockets of like expertise. I think it's so amazing. I'm going to get to the questions in the chat, but I just want to answer Mayara's second question from that same like message that she sent, which was directed to me, but again, like kind of opening it up to everyone. I'll pop it in the chat. So she said, you've been very open about the ups and downs of running your own business, and that really stood out to me. I'd love to know, when business is slow, what do you focus on? Like, do you actively seek out clients, content, things like that? And also, how do you manage your finances during the slower periods? To be honest, the easier answer to that is I don't. I've been very open that, like, and Alice will know this because we've done a session together, but like, I'm terrible with money, managing my money in business, and I'm getting better at it. And like, again, I've been very open and honest. Like, I have just got a part-time job simply just to help with the finances of things, but it has almost caused me to be more intentional with my business because I know I'm going to have less time to spend on it. So I know that I'm going to be, you know, focusing a lot more on actually the desire behind my business, why I want to do it, and like building it up again, as opposed to like putting out the fires. Like, oh, I need to quickly book a client, or I need to quickly, you know, launch a little, you know, low ticket offer to be able to, you know, make some money. Like, I'm not in that mindset anymore, so I'm able to focus on the other things. So when periods are slower, I use that as my time. Sorry, my dogs are going to start barking now. I use that as my time to work on the business. So for example, at the moment, I decided to sort of step back and say to myself, why am I in a slow period? And slow periods are normal. Due to external factors and things, you know, we can't control when clients come into our lives. We could do everything we can to like attract them and bring them into our world, but like ultimately that's not our decisions to make. So when we do have the slower periods, it's a time to almost step back and reflect on what you're doing. Is there anything I can improve in my business? I'm a very like self-aware person. I like to self-reflect on everything that I'm doing. So I kind of had the realization that my website's probably not 100%, and then that sort of spiraled into, okay, maybe I need to improve my offers. So if any of you were in the 90-day method workshop and you feel like you're in one of these slow periods, it's a really good thing to do, because it almost maps out the next 90 days for you, in terms of like, oh, I need to work on this specific thing. So I'm very much working on like building profit right now and like scaling the business back to a point where it was maybe like 2-3 years ago. And yeah, so like I'm very much just focused on building my own business. I'm working on my offers, I'm working on my website, I'm working on my messaging as well, and also like content. Like social media content is generally what a lot of us use to attract our clients, so it's a really good thing to focus on then. Yeah, I'm curious to know if anybody else has any like slow period advice. I feel like mine are always like, yeah, like I've got a job. So so if anybody else has any like better advice than that, please go for it.
Advice is like hard, isn't it? Because I think managing your finances, it depends on what the last few months have looked like. It depends on whether I've just wrapped up with a client or whether it's been a slow period of a couple of months. And to be honest, like my approach to that is always taking it back to basics and just sharing what I know online. And to be honest, like that sounds like a bit of a fairy tale answer, but a client always comes eventually. And that's all you need really, is one person to come along and say yes to your proposal, and you're rolling again. And what you tend to find is that, or at least what I've seen now, and I've been freelancing, this has been my sole source of income now for 2 years. And what I've found is that sometimes you'll go through a month or two of no inquiries, and then all of a sudden you'll have 7. And that's just out of your control, unfortunately. It's usually based on like the time of year and the economic state of the world right now. I mean, I work mostly with companies in America, and we do a lot of packaging for CPG. Their tariffs have severely affected like the amount of inquiries I'm getting. Laura's nodding her head, Katie's nodding her head. I'm sure that you guys also know, like it's not fun, like it's not, and there's a lot of stuff going on. That's not there's nothing we can do about that. All we can really do is take it back to basics and try and show the value that we could bring to a business. And that is really like not a great answer, but it's the only one I have, because that's what I would do, you know?
I think a lot of it is like planning ahead as well, like genuinely looking at finances. Like I haven't been in a position to be able to do this, but building a reserve fund, like I think Ruby was talking about this in her like managing money talk, but it is really, really amazing to be able to build maybe like 2 to 3 months of like your salary, so that if anything does happen, you've got that money there that can kind of save you. And and yeah, just planning ahead. Like when I did a session with Alice, like we looked forward to like the upcoming year and like mapped out like, okay, how am I going to keep going? Like this is a slow period for clients at this point in the year. So what am I going to like do at this point? So my thing for right now was brand bootcamp. Like I knew that through summer, I tend not really to book many clients. So this was my era for brand bootcamp. Now, obviously I've been very open that the launch didn't necessarily go the way I thought it was going to. So while it's been incredible and this event, like I'm so glad that it's come together the way it did, my income isn't at the level I expected it to be. So there are so many like unexpected things that come up. So being able to protect yourself and like having that reserve fund there, I'm sure Alice will be able to expand more on that because I really am terrible with money. So don't listen to
Well, not to call you out, Goshi, but first thing is I think with money we need to be so careful about our language. Like it's self-fulfilling, right? And I'm not a mindset person particularly, but I think, you know, what you say about you, we're most consistent with the version of ourselves that we see, right? So even just trying to be mindful where it's like, I'm working on my relationship with money, and even the compassion, right? Where it's like, we talk so much, don't we? Like school doesn't prepare you for finances. Well, school definitely doesn't prepare you for business finances. Like that's a whole nother world. And even like I entered business when I was 17.